Okay, in this video I want to talk about one more peg of postmodernism, a notion that you can use to interpret surrounding concepts, and along with other such pegs together produces a composite understanding of this item under analysis, right? Postmodernism. So I want to submit to you that in the postmodern individual is going to be a reset button. Okay, so the peg here would be reset, or reset button. And then what I'm trying to get at here is that the culture that is operating along the postmodern lines is going to train up its agents within the culture as they mature in the culture to think and operate along those tracks. And the more a person becomes aware of this and can study it and articulate it and examine it critically, the more he or she becomes versed in the language, the more this person can sit back and reflect upon the notion that he or she is a postmodernist. But what you should understand is that a person doesn't have to be able to be convinced, or a person doesn't have to say, okay, I've been convinced I'm a postmodern, for that person to actually be one, because he or she as an agent in this culture has been molded as the person has spent time in the milieu. All right, so it just seems that there, in this sort of development, there exists or grows or coalesces in an individual a collection of old values, old-fashioned values, perhaps, of well, not that's the wrong idea. Perhaps it's best explained as a sequestration or a kidnapping or a closeting of things like truth, believing in truth, believing in love, believing in the existence and the value of good. And also included in this would be a closing away, a closeting up of the grounds from which issue beliefs in the in a metaphysical realm, a realm beyond the physical. All right, science is going to tell you, especially how it's platformed today, that the only profitable knowledge and publicly absolute knowledge is that which stems from the scientific laboratory, because it can be fairly objectively quantified and repeated, and we can do things from that knowledge. We can make predictions about activities and actually watch those predictions materialize. So there is a sort of an idea that science, within the realm of science, and only within that realm can there be such a thing as truth. But what has been closed away by the pressures that make us accept that view is the grounds for the metaphysic. So notions of eternal life, or a soul that exists after life, or God are often taboo subjects, or just not discussed, or not really seriously entertained as notions, because they don't have any viable activity, any true consequences in the practicable realm of everyday life in this culture for the postmodern. So they get sequestered away. But you'll watch that, and you can see this happening under the right conditions. It's as if the reset button has been pushed, and these people all of a sudden drop all of their postmodern trappings and revert back to this basic stance in which they do yearn after truth. They do seek joy and happiness and love. They do desire deeply the existence of meaning in their life and also significance. They pursue this, and they pursue it with the notion that they are eternal beings, that there is a divine power in place. All those sorts of things rise to the surface temporarily under the right conditions. Now, at that point, the agent, the person, can push them back down again, or begin to seriously reconsider them and pursue life according to their dictates until, again, disappointment sinks in, and then back into the closet they go. For example, okay, there's some certain ways this can happen. I'll give you two just to get you to think about this. Clint Eastwood made a Super Bowl commercial. It was either last year or 2 years ago, and to promote Detroit. All right, and I think the message of the commercial was, it's halftime in Detroit. So this was a halftime Super Bowl message, and Clint Eastwood wanted to let people know that Detroit was on the rise again. Okay, and with America's help, we could do this to this great city with a storied history in our past. So the trouble was, all right, Clint Eastwood did not film the commercial in Detroit. So you look at the background, and some people even began to recognize that's not Detroit. And then you find out, as you actually look for the information of how the commercial was made, that in fact Eastwood did not film that commercial in Detroit. And you know what? The media made a stink about it, because they were expecting some sort of level of sincerity, that in order for that message to really hit home with conviction, Eastwood had to be in Detroit. But think about the idea of what that means. All right, if there was really that conviction in well placed, how many other things get undercut because the actual content of the message does not match the material context of the message. So think of, here's the other. It's really a logical fallacy, because what if you have somebody doing a very physically dangerous habit, okay, taking substance Q, which substance Q was known to kill you, and the person is constantly taking substance Q, but then he tells his friend or his child, don't ever take substance Q. And then the notion is, well, he takes it, so obviously that's wrong. No. I mean, the statement, substance Q kills you, is a true statement whether or not this guy takes it or not. So it's what's known as the tu quoque fallacy, okay? The you also fallacy, literally. And, Clint Eastwood's message might be true. What does it have to do whether it's filmed in Detroit or not? But because there was this yearning for a complete through and through transparency and sincerity, that commercial blew up on him. But think of how many Facebook pages and blogs and how many ways you present yourself to audiences that do not actually ring true to your sincere and natural state of things on the inside. Now here's another example of this sort of reset button. I can't help think every time a Hollywood film that promises love to somebody, for example, The Notebook, or A Beautiful Mind. I'll talk about both of those quickly. When now in the heyday of the postmodern period, it was You've Got Mail, okay, Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, and the notion is when Hollywood can give you a story, okay, of two people actually falling in real love with each other, that is such a big hit with the audience, okay. And you can see it happening decade after decade, almost year after year. It's either a pretty good sized hit or a huge hit. And why? Why is it resonating so much with the audience? Because the audience is not finding that in their own lives, but they yearn for that. Okay, so there's that reset button, that realization of, well, I can't really expect this, or it doesn't really work out that way and all that. But if I could just see it played out on the screen one more time, it gives me some sort of hope. It shows me that it's at least possible, and if nothing else, it at least allows me to experience it vicariously, and you get the hit going. Okay, The Notebook is another one like that. I mean, you can just tick them off on your fingers. Anything that can be promised to the society and say, look, here's the truth. Okay. Here's here's a stable self. Here's how it really evolves. And for example, A Beautiful Mind, which went on to win awards for that year, it presented at the beginning a couple falling in love with each other, but they didn't really care too much about love. At least he didn't. It was more of a material, physical thing for him that you just had and got out of the way. Very postmodern, in fact. But as they actually did get married, And they actually stuck with each other through this man's mental problems, mental illness. At the end, okay, they are together, and they're 80, 70 years old, 80 years old, somewhere around there. They're elderly. He in his acceptance speech of the Nobel Prize for Economics, he credits her and thanks her for the love that has grown from their commitment to each other. Now think how that resonates with the audience. I mean, there's tears everywhere because people are saying this is what real love is like and we want this. But because of the changing self and the inability for the postmodern to know his or her own self, it's beyond the reach. Yet it's tantalizing. Okay, so that movie resets the button quickly and you begin to hope again, and then it crashes down and you continue on in your postmodern existence. So there's that reset button that's right below the surface. It's right below the surface. It can be pushed by the right pressures and the right stimuli, and it could be pushed for profit, given the commodity principle that's at play in the postmodern society also. One note for you, for example, why do you think Hollywood did that for The Beautiful Mind at the end? They said it was based off a true story, but if you look at the truth, the John Nash in his biography, his wife and he actually divorced. So they didn't get back. Their marriage didn't stay together. Yet Hollywood portrayed it as staying together. Okay? Because they knew that's the perfect ending. Now why would that be the perfect ending? Because there's so many people out there that are yearning for that. Okay? And why are they yearning for it? Why are you thirsty for water? Because you don't have it. So when you are thirsty. So when I look at what's happened, what the culture does, what it responds to, in terms of protest, like the Clint Eastwood commercial, or in terms of enjoyment and self-gratification, like the Beautiful Mind idea, there's that reset button where really hidden deep inside is a yearning for truth, a yearning for eternality, a yearning for a higher power that can inject your life with meaning. But the postmodern stance says it could be only a yearning, a sort of a distant echo. And the actual existence of it is going to always be beyond the reach of our realization. But at least we have the echo. That's what the postmodern is going to say. And if it convinces you to try to search for it again, so be it. That can be a project for you. Or if you realize, it's going to die away, it's nothing but an echo, while the echo lasts, you can still derive some sort of catharsis or some sort of a emotional resetting. It's a pleasurable memory, at least if it is just that.